The vast majority of Canadians know at least one person, if not multiple people, who have been impacted by the massive rise in violent crime in this country. I personally know somebody who was hit by a drunk driver who had been released for the exact same crime on several occasions, as well as several petty crimes that have occurred to Canadians that never used to happen in this country. Individual statistics from cities continue to come out, and you know they are padding these numbers to make them look as pro-government as possible. And still, in Ottawa, they just released yesterday, since 2015 alone, violent crime rates in Ottawa are up 63%. Across the board, crimes are up 70%. These are shocking numbers for a 10-year time period, certainly unprecedented in Canada, and they are a direct result of the insane policies that the Liberal government continues to insist on implementing that put everyday Canadians at risk more and more by the small percentage of people who commit the vast majority of the crimes. We already know for a fact it's 1 to 2% of criminals that commit 80 to 90% of the crime. You simply have to lock away these small percentage of people who are your repeat offenders time and time and time again. But the government of Canada refuses to put these people away. We have ridiculous bills like Bill C-75, which Bill C-75 makes it as easy as possible for an offender to get out on bail. It literally puts the onus on the prosecution to prove why a violent offender should be kept in jail rather than reverse onus. It's why we have people like Daniel Senecal, who SAs a young child, gets sentenced to 12 months in prison, then does the exact same thing to an even younger child. It's the reason why we've seen this spat of break-it-enters in Ontario pulled off by repeat offenders. Now, the government, we know that they massage these statistics as much as possible to make them look as pro-liberal as they possibly can. Even in Ottawa, the number they have to give us is a 63% increase in crime. Shoplifting is up 400%. There are reports that child exploitation is up over 500%. Drug crimes up over 100%. And this always happens in communist societies. In societies where they reverse, the average citizen becomes the enemy and the criminal becomes the oppressed. It's what we see in communist societies time and time again. And a perfect example of what's going on in this country that's leading to the explosion in violent crime is allowing these rallies on a daily basis for 2.5 years that include the most hateful rhetoric you've ever heard in your life, whether it be Intifada in our lifetime, which means violent revolution. These hate mobs on our street are allowed time and time again to roam free, not only roam free, but roam with police escorts. Another, the open drug use that we now see in Canada is truly shocking. I live a couple blocks east of the Parliament building, and for about 10 blocks straight, there's open crack smoking on a daily basis. Again, the Liberal government passes both safe supply laws as well as laws stating that open drug use should not be prosecuted. We see time and time again, these exploding crime statistics are no mistake. They are a direct result of Liberal policy. They are a direct result of soft on crime policies. When you look at a chart, Justin Trudeau was elected Prime Minister in 2015. Crime rates had been going down and down and down every year under Stephen Harper's tenure as Prime Minister. As soon as Trudeau was elected, 90 degrees, totally goes the opposite direction. And the violent crime rates in many parts of Canada have more than doubled in under a decade. And looking for historical analogies to such skyrocketing crime rates in only 10 years are nearly impossible to find. And when you do find them in places like Lebanon, in places like Argentina, both in the 20th century, you see a lot of the same historical patterns with mass immigration, absolutely huge immigration numbers. They're not as high as what we're seeing in Canada. When you speak to Canadians who are from Iran, who are from Lebanon, you frequently hear them talk about how so much of what you're seeing in Canadian society today reminds them of exactly what happened in their countries, where criminals were given free rein to roam free and the government went after political opponents. The exact same as what we're seeing in Canada. The Canadian government refuses to prosecute the actual criminals who are out there on the street. But what do they do at the same time? They're passing Bill C-8, Bill C-9, which give the government unprecedented ability to lock Canadians up and cut their internet service. Yes, you heard that correctly. Cut their internet service for having an opinion that the Canadian government does not agree with. So at the same time as violent criminals have as little worries because they know how soft on crime our system is, and it's well known that in order to stop crime, you need to have the criminals fearing that they're going to be punished if they be caught. So criminals are walking around knowing that the likelihood of going to prison is incredibly low, while at the same time, everyday Canadians are scared to voice, are worried about voicing their regular opinions because they don't know if they're going to get cut off from society, if they're going to go to jail, up to life in prison with Bill C-8 for so-called hate speech, up to life in prison. How insane is that for speech? Or they're just going to get banned. I've just started a new TikTok account. Please follow Fight for Canada Aid. It's tiktok.com/Fight for Canada Aid. You should probably be able to just search Fight for Canada. But I was at 30K subs and they banned me because I criticized them on immigration. But the main point is that this crime wave we're seeing in Canada is a policy decision. Like everything else, the Liberals try and pass it off and say, oh, this is a universal trend. That's not the case. Or this is due to some conservative premiers, Danielle Smith. Again, not the case. I'm citing statistics directly from Ottawa, probably the most liberal area in the entire country. And even they have to acknowledge a massive spike in crime. And it's due to the liberal messaging that the criminals are victims. Time and time again, you see it when we have the amount of cases where Canada has refused to deport an immigrant who committed a crime because a judge will say something to the effect of it would be damaging to his immigration case to stay here is truly stunning. But this is what the woke ideology is. It's all identity politics. And if you fit into the correct tribe, you should not be held accountable for what you do. So if Canadians don't stand up and demand certainly reform on Bill C-75, bail reform, keep criminals in prison, the primary responsibility of our government should be to keep us safe. And Mark Carney is in dereliction of his duty. Senior members of the Liberal Party commit crimes like crazy, whether we're talking about We Charity, SNC-Lavalin, Green Slush Fund, Arrive Can-App. Mark Carney just blatantly getting out there and talking about companies he has a financial interest in. Total violation of the Conflict of Interest Act. We need to demand reform. We need to demand an election as soon as possible. Please like, share, subscribe, join, become a member, grab some gear, donate. Really appreciate everybody's support. We need to let people know about how bad the crime rates have gotten in Canada.